Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where someone wants to name their kid Monkey D. Luffy. Am I the butthole for telling my sister that her husband is right and her baby name idea is stupid? I'm a 24-year-old woman, and I have a twin sister, Maisie. Maisie is pregnant with her first kid, due in February, and the baby is going to be a boy. Last week, she opened up to me and said that she and her husband have been fighting over baby names, and she's sick of hearing about it, and she just wants to settle on a name that they both like. Maisie and her husband are both a bit geeky, not that there's anything wrong with that, and she told me she wants to name the baby Luffy, as in the character from One Piece. Her husband doesn't want this name and says the kid will be bullied. She asked for my honest opinion, and I told her the name is silly and her husband is right. I tried to say this gently, but really, how gently can you tell someone their idea is stupid? I suggested that she go back to the drawing board on that one, and maybe... sorry, this story's so stupid. And maybe look at the name of lesser-known anime characters if that's what she wants. Maisie got upset and said the name is cute, and we're both just being closed-minded. I told her she asked for my honest opinion, and she got it. She kept trying to convince me that it was a good name, and the conversation was becoming hysterical, and I told her it's a stupid name, end of discussion. She started crying and left, and since then, she's been giving me the cold shoulder. Our parents told me to just tell Maisie that I'm sorry because my words really upset her, and I should have been nicer about it. Well, technically, Luffy is that character's last name, so maybe she'd have more luck suggesting the character's first name, Monkey. Am I the butthole for informing a school that a family with students have moved out of the district so that I can make room for my child? My children and I moved to a new school district last year. Although we live very close to a great school, we were sent to attend another school in the district because the desired school was at capacity. I was informed right before the school year that my two kids were next to be enrolled. The housing issue has slowed movers down to a near halt, and we aren't really living in an area with frequent movers anyway. I found out that a family moved out of our district to a district with inner city schools, but they also told me that the students will still be attending our school. I don't know the family, but I don't blame them. The inner city schools are terrible and problematic at best. However, our district is not open enrollment, so they should no longer be attending our school. I called the principal and board of education to make a report on that family, and I was finally informed last week that my kids would be attending our local school, and I breathed a sigh of relief. My kids will start next week, and this will be a huge burden lifted for our household. The issue comes from the family that needs to pull their kids from the school. They found out that I made the call and told me that while what I was doing was best for my child, it was greatly harming all four of theirs. Apparently, one of their kids is autistic and was thriving at that school. Turns out, 3 of their kids attended the school that I wanted, but one of them attended a special school for autistic kids. They said that he was originally nonverbal, and now he's telling his mom, "I love you." I felt terrible when they said that, but also, I didn't make them move. They did that on their own. They've been telling people about it, and of course, they think that I'm heartless. Some have said that I'm a butthole, but I wanted to see if I mishandled it. So, am I the butthole here? OP, if you're in that school's district, then your taxes are funding that school. So that literally makes you entitled to sending your kids to that school. It's literally not how our legal system works. If you live in Virginia, you don't pay taxes and get public benefits from Maryland. It's just not how it works, man. And you're right. You didn't make the other family move. So if the other family really wanted to stay in that school, then they should have stayed in the district. Simple as that. And people are calling you heartless? So what are you supposed to do? Send your kids to the inner city school that sucks, even though you're paying taxes for the school in the district that you live in? This makes no sense. All these people who are calling you buttholes, if they're really so hurt about it, then they can pull out their kids of that school so that the other family's kids can go back into that school. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm also giving the other family 0 out of 5 buttholes as well, because obviously they want what's best for their kids too. It is kind of a douchey move that they're tattling on you, but I can understand their frustration. So I think I'm giving everyone here 0 out of 5 buttholes, just because everyone's looking out for the best interests of their kids. Am I the butthole for not moving from a spot that someone wanted to propose on? One of my hobbies is to go hiking and eat a very large meal while sitting down. Basically a picnic for myself. I bring a blanket and anything else I might need for an hour-long experience. This past Monday, I was up in a new area that I'd never been to. I brought my large meal with me and set up on a very gorgeous area with a great view of the lake. I was about 5 minutes into my ritual when this guy with a camera comes and tells me that a couple was coming up to do a proposal on this very spot and asked me to move. I told him no, that I barely got set up and I was in the middle of my meal. He gets annoyed and just asks me again, but I tell him no. A few minutes later, the photographer returns with the guy who was going to propose. The guy who was going to propose asks me this time, and I just tell him no, that he can wait. He asks me, "What the F is wrong with you?" And I just tell him that I'm eating my meal. He starts telling me to GTFO, but I put on my headphones and just continue eating. After a while, he leaves me alone. After I felt satisfied from the meal, I packed up and was heading down. The 3 people were waiting at another spot, and the men pointed me out, and the lady starts yelling at me that I ruined her day and the proposal happened elsewhere instead of the spot that I was in. I just smiled, said, "Congrats on your proposal," and kept walking. When I got back home, I told my boyfriend about it, and he straight up said that that was a butthole thing to do. OP, this whole post is giving I'm the main character vibes. I mean, technically, you're in the right because you got there first and it's a public hiking trail, so you have just as much right to be there as they do. But come on, man, it's a wedding proposal. You can't give them 5 minutes. The whole point of a public space is that it's shared, which means they have a right to be there just like you have a right to be there. I do understand that it's annoying because you were in the middle of your sacred ritual, but come on, man, you can't be nice. Does it hurt you to be nice? I will say, though, that they were unnecessarily aggressive towards you and demanding that you leave instead of asking is a bit harsh. So I think I'm going to go with everyone sucks here. Just everyone is kind of self-obsessed and in their own world and not really willing to be nice and accommodating. So I'm giving every single person in this story 1 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for laughing at my sister when her daughter finally cut her off? My sister has never been a prize parent. She married rich and had a baby because that's what she was supposed to do. Truthfully, she never looked after her own daughter for a single day. Even on things like Christmas, she would go to parties and her daughter would celebrate with us. You know, because nannies don't work on Christmas. We all knew that her daughter wouldn't have any semblance of a relationship with her. As the kid got older, my sister would talk to her, but it was never about things that she liked. Or like my sister would book a trip to Disney for her kid's birthday, but my niece has been terrified of theme parks since she was small. My niece just turned 18. She got her inheritance money from her grandpa and is set to start college this year. My dad drove her up to her college dorm a couple of days ago, actually. She's doing well. As soon as she got there, she sent her parents a text telling them that she was cutting them off and to no longer contact them. No one's surprised, not even her dad. No one besides my sister, apparently. She's been complaining since it happened. She's incredibly upset, but we tried to warn her. If you don't start bonding with her, she won't care about you. When she finally approached me and explained her feelings and how she just doesn't understand what happened, I laughed at her. I told her that we all warned her and that I, in fact, am incredibly happy for my niece. She went and complained to our mom, who's potentially the only one on her side. She called me immature and said that it was the wrong thing to do, and I need to apologize and all that. I haven't, but I probably will. I thought that I'd come and post it to Reddit just to see the general public's idea. What's the point in living if you can't make at least one Am I the Butthole post, right? Haha. So, am I the butthole? I'm of the opinion that if you have an 18-year-old kid who's not, like, in jail, not doing drugs, just like a relatively normal, well-adjusted kid, and if they completely cut contact with their parents at the age of 18, then that means the parents screwed up majorly, massively. It is so easy to earn the affection of your kids. They are literally hardwired. The deepest part of a child's soul desperately craves the love and affection and respect of their parents. So if you give them just a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, then they will forever love you. If you give them a lot of love, then they will also forever love you, but even more. It takes constant, extreme levels of neglect or abuse to create an 18-year-old who immediately cuts you off the second she leaves the house. And what makes it worse is she had constant warnings. All of her friends and family were like, you know, your daughter's going to cut you off if you're not careful. And she's like, oh, it's fine. I'm sure my daughter will be perfectly fine going to Christmas by herself while I go to a party. What actual scum. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. You should have laughed because she deserves to be laughed at. I'm giving your sister 4 out of 5 buttholes. Neglect is a form of child abuse. Am I the butthole for embarrassing someone by pretending to be Japanese? I'm a 20-year-old woman, and I have a Japanese name even though I'm not ethnically Japanese. My mom is Korean and my dad is British. They met and fell in love while studying in Japan, and they had me there after marrying. We lived there until I was 14 before moving to the States. This will be important later on. Today, a group of my roommate's friends came over to study with her, and I happened to be in the living room when they arrived. They were introducing themselves to me, and when I said my name, I have a pretty common Japanese girl name, so it's pretty hard to be mistaken about the origin. And one of the girls made a disgusted face and laughed at me, saying that was so dumb. She said that she was Japanese American, and I was culturally appropriating her country as a white person. What? I tried to explain that I lived in Japan for a while, and that was why, but she kept insisting I was lying, and that if I was telling the truth, I should be able to speak the language. Since she put it like that, I started talking to her in Japanese. Basically, I explained that I lived there and asked which prefecture her parents were from. She ends up stuttering through a sentence in an awkward manner before leaving in a huff. Later, my roommate told me I embarrassed her by pretending to be more Japanese than an actual Japanese person and appropriating the culture, and her friend expected an apology. My roommate doesn't think I did anything wrong, but now I feel bad. Okay, hold on. Your parents gave you a name. That's completely out of your control. You didn't say, hey, name me Kiriko or whatever. They chose to name you that, and then your very first introduction to this person is they give you a disgusted face and accuse you of cultural appropriation. It's like, lady, I didn't choose this name, they did. What do you want me to do? Also, how is she going to call you a white person if you're half British, half Korean? Wouldn't you obviously be mixed race? You know, honestly, this kind of leads to a weird thought experiment. Who's more Japanese? A full-blooded Japanese person who has a Japanese father, Japanese mother, but was born and grew up in America and doesn't spend time in Japan and doesn't speak Japanese, or a non-genetic Japanese person who was literally born there, who was an actual Japanese citizen and knows the language and was immersed in the culture. I think, personally, I think I'd go with OP. I think I'd say that OP is more Japanese than the blooded Japanese person. I'm kind of curious what people think about this. Do you guys agree? Who's the more Japanese person here? In any event, even if OP is 0% Japanese, which I don't buy since she was literally born in Japan and grew up there and speaks the language and knows the culture, OP is still not the butthole because what did she do? Use the name that her parents gave her? This other person is a tool bag. What's the Japanese word for tool bag? This person is a dogu bukaru. Am I the butthole for turning around and going back to my parents with my baby when I got home because my husband let his homeless brother move in and everyone had lice? I recently went to see my parents with my newborn. It was just for the long weekend, so my husband stayed home with our other 3 kids, ages 7, 5, and 3. My husband called me when I was out of town to let me know that his brother needed a place to crash. I said that he should give his brother a ride to a shelter or something because it was a bad idea to let his brother into our home. He's stolen from us before. When I got home, there were 5 very itchy people in the house. I immediately got back in my car and went to my parents' house. My husband was calling me the whole time because he needed help dealing with the lice. I didn't call him back until the baby was settled in at my folks' place. I told him the pharmacy had shampoo and a comb for lice. He said that he needed me to come home and take care of it, but I was like, nope. I said that he let his brother into our home against my wishes, and his brother gave everyone lice. I also reminded him that when our oldest got lice from kindergarten, he didn't help me at all. I hate lice. They freak me out. I dealt with it because I had to. This time, it's on him. He said that he would have to use up his sick days to take care of this. I said tough shit. He did it. He took his brother to a shelter, he deloused himself and the kids, and then he spent 3 days cleaning all the bedding and the furniture. He called me every day begging for help. I didn't come home until his mother confirmed that everything was done. He's pissed that I stuck him with all that by himself. I know that I should have helped, but it was too much. I'm still not at 100% from the baby. It was just too much. OP, sounds like you have 2 babies in the household. What's your husband's issue, man? Is this just another sexist husband who thinks that every single thing involving household chores automatically falls on the mother? But you did this! You did this against your wife's wishes. You brought Lice into the home and oh no, the consequences of your actions! Also, I've got to point out, I'm not even sure if it's 100% safe for OP to come home. She's got a newborn baby, so if she exposes the baby to the lice, that could expose the baby to who knows what kind of diseases. OP, your husband made his bed so he can lay in it, along with all of his lice. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes, I'm giving your husband 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.